can beat these Saturday.
Come on, lads, believe. Come on.
Yep, welcome back to the latest edition of RedArmy.tv. Phew, not what a scorcher, though I wish it was. Phew, we've stopped the rot. Paddy Cronsbury with me, furthest possible place from me. Paddy, I didn't do it deliberately. I like you really, mate. From the Middlesbrough Disabled Supporters Association, thanks for being in. We also have James Boothby, and we have Paul Murray. And I've got your names the wrong way around on my script, fellas, so I'll be calling you each other's name, but don't worry. If I look at you, just nod. So, 1-1 draw down in London against West Ham at the Olympic Stadium, London Stadium, whatever you want to call it. Waste of money is another one. Paddy, we'll start with you. Good or bad result?
I would have taken the draw before we left Teesside. And on reflection, I think you've got to say it was a good point, but I'd have been happier if we'd have kept the 1-0, obviously. I was a bit disappointed with the goal that we conceded. It was quite similar to one or two goals that we've conceded of late. But
pretty familiar, that, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, Payet's a class act, even though he does throw himself to the floor quite a bit. But yeah, I want 1-1 draw. It's a point away is always a good point, isn't it?
Yeah, you were all down there, James. Happy with the point in the end?
I think in the end, looking back, like Paddy, I'd have maybe took a point going into the game. I think coming out of the game, my initial reaction was disappointment, really. I thought that we got a goal ahead. I think if we'd have maybe hung on for another 5 or 10 minutes, that might have been it. The crowd might have got on top of them a little bit, and I think we might have hung on for the win. Sorry. As Paddy said, it was a disappointing goal to concede. Paya's obviously a great player. It was some really good skill to get there, but again, it's a third game on the trot. We've conceded exactly the same goal. I don't know whether it's a tactic that we're trying to show people inside and hoping a defender wins the ball, but it doesn't seem to be working for us at the minute.
Well, we'll come on to that in more depth a bit later on in the show. But Paul, your thoughts after the game? What were you thinking?
Pretty much the same as what the lads have just said. It would have been nice to have the 3 points, but if you look before the game, you will probably take a point away from home.
But
so
it has stopped the rot, hasn't it?
Yes,
at least.
It stopped the rot, and we've got a home game next. Let's see if we can get 3 points there and make a bit of a break between us and the bottom of the league.
James, for you, how important was it not to clock up a fourth successive defeat?
I think it's important almost as much for the fans and the buzz around the club as the players themselves. I think that they seem like a tight-knit bunch, but after the last home game, there was like the odd murmur amongst the crowd. I think a little bit of, we're starting to struggle a little bit. To stop that rot and, with an improved performance, I think overall, I think it's good. I think we can look ahead to the next home game, as Paul just said. It kind of gives us a little bit of confidence, I think. Like you said, going into that home game with 4 defeats, it would have put you under an awful lot of pressure to get that win. So yeah, it's good to get a positive result out of that game.
Yeah, but Paddy, are you along the same sort of lines? I mean, how much of a dent would it have been in confidence if we had gone into the next game with 4 successive defeats?
Well, it's like a snowball effect, isn't it? If the longer you go before you get a result, the more the pressure's on you, and obviously on the players and the manager as well. But we don't want the fans to start getting disheartened this early in the season. You know what I mean? It's still a long way to go. So if we can redeem ourselves against Watford, if redeem's the right word, I'm one of these who messes about with figures in his head all the time.
Oh, go on. Where have you got us then?
Well, I reckon that to be guaranteed a 17th minimum place, which would keep us in the division, we need to be winning 2 games in every 7. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the aim for me would be to get 10 wins, which will give us 30 points, and then pick up 8 draws, something like, which isn't an unrealistic target, I wouldn't have thought.
But we've got to start looking at home games as games that we win. We've dropped points against Stoke. Obviously, we didn't expect much against Spurs. Palace came here and did us. So where are we on your mental map of figures?
We're 2 points down at the moment, which if we'd have beat West Ham, we'd have been back on target.
Well, one of those points that we've got, James, was thanks to goal line technology down in London. We love it now, don't we?
We certainly do after that one.
That was a tight one, though, wasn't it?
No, well,
It was
if
well
you
over
look
the
at
line,
the,
wasn't
Was
it?
it well over? You think it was? I looked at it and I thought, ooh, is it? Isn't it? You think it was well over?
I have to be honest, live at the match, I wasn't sure. Obviously, because you're behind the goal, so you don't really have that perspective. Obviously, you're all appealing for it. But to have that technology there gives you that certainty. So that's.
I'm appealing for it when it's 3 yards out.
Well,
Never
yeah,
mind when
absolutely.
it's anywhere near the line. So it's 1-0 at the moment, goal line technology in the Borough. Let's hope that run continues massively. We've touched on defending. The poll, Stu Whittingham, our social media guru, posted the poll a few days ago and asked the question, Borough's defending has been poor recently. What has changed? We'll come on to it in the studio shortly, fellas. But just to give you an idea of the outcome of the poll, 58%, so obviously massively in favour of simply individual errors, which is not bad news because we can always correct individual errors. 14% we're out of our depth in the league, 16% defence is not good enough, and 12% wrong keeper choice. There you go. So massively in favour of individual errors. Right, high time we caught up with a report. Joe Nicholson's our man who always casts an eye over Borough performances. This is what Joe made of the 1-1 draw down at West Ham.
Overall, there was a lot to be admired about Borough's hard-working and gritty performance away at West Ham. However, I couldn't help feeling that it was a bit of an opportunity missed, especially after taking the lead through Christian Stuani's header on 51 minutes. West Ham equalised almost immediately, just 5 minutes later, and although the defending could have been questioned, it was a superb solo goal from Dimitri Payet, who is one of the best players in the Premier League right now. But Borough did a good job in that first half of keeping possession when they got the ball, taking the sting out of the game, and Adam Forshaw was particularly eye-catching in midfield alongside Martin de Roon. But Borough really failed to take advantage against a West Ham side which were low in confidence and were playing without a recognised striker. We didn't really offer much going forward. Jordan Rose got his opportunity up front but lacked service, and in the end a draw was probably a fair result.
Okay, thanks, Joe. He'll be back, of course, 2 weeks' time because we've got no football this coming weekend. It's international break week. More on that a little bit later on. Martin de Roon, I love this, fellas. I'm sure you've all seen it. This is what appeared on Twitter on Martin de Roon's account. Apparently, he couldn't pee into the bottle soon enough, and the rest of the team, the rest of the squad, had to leave to catch the train back to the northeast. So he was marooned in London because he was waiting to pee into a bottle for the dope test, the drugs test. Missed the train after the match yesterday due to the doping test. These great fans took me home after. Thanks. I suppose it's a daft question, is it, to ask you if you saw a Borough fan standing there by the side of the road, thumbing a lift up to try and get 250 miles north, you'd have picked him up and given him a lift, wouldn't you?
Of course you would.
Yeah, and then given him a few beers and introduced him into Teesside life. Is that what you do, James?
Absolutely. I think, we'd all want the same thing to happen to us if the boot was on the other foot, wouldn't we? So.
I know. Paddy, have you come across anything like that before?
Well, I was, when I seen that, my thoughts were of Higgy and Alistair and Coxey
Yeah.
when he was left behind and he had to jump in with Bernie and Ali. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I remember Robbie Mustock, 'cause I used to work with Robbie in America, and Robbie used to tell me it was the big fear. It wasn't the fear of not passing the dope test, the doping test. There's a few footballers wouldn't pass the dope test, as in being a dope. But he said it's the fact that you've just run your bits off for 90 minutes, sweating profusely. The last thing your body can do is actually pee into a bottle for probably an hour and a half. You're drinking loads of water down to try and make it work. And obviously that's what's happened with de Roon, so couldn't do it. Good lad, good lad. Let's wrap up the West Ham game if we can, fellas. I'll start with you, Paul. Rhodes and Fisher started. Both looked okay, actually. I mean, let's let Rhodes. He looked lively up front. What's your thoughts?
He did from the part of the match that I got in to see, but we were actually late. We were 20 minutes late getting into the ground, so we missed the first half of the first half. Yeah. But what I've seen of them, they look good. For me, at times, Fisher's trying too hard. Maybe if he learns to relax a little bit, you might see a better game out of him.
What were your thoughts, James, on the two of them?
I'd agree with that. I thought they looked bright together. Fisher seemed to be playing a little bit more of an advanced position I would have thought. And I kind of like Jordan Rhodes up front. I think he's a very different type of player to Negredo. I think Rhodes is all about his movement, trying to find those little gaps in the penalty area. And I think a number 10 maybe works a little bit better with that kind of striker for me. I like Negredo, and he holds the ball up brilliantly, and he wins every header that gets anywhere near him. But I think when you've got a number 10 who's looking to thread balls through to him, he's not the most mobile. I think maybe playing Rhodes up there maybe suits our system a little bit better. I thought he looked quite bright, and the ball never really dropped him in the box, I think, unfortunately for him. But yeah, I think a lot of his play looked bright, and I'd like to see him kind of just get that game time, give him the chance to score the goals for us.
I know Paddy better than you two lads, so I'll give you the awkward one. Negredo, Rhodes, Paddy? What are your thoughts? How do we... which of that combination makes us look better?
And Negredo's got the experience. Rhodes, it's his first time ever in the Premier League. When I seen the team sheet, I was amazed, because I had in my head we were going to play 4-4-2 with Stuani and Rhodes up front, with Fisher coming in as playing wide and down in there. And then you've got your two holding midfielders. But it didn't turn out that. We went back to 5 across the middle again, and it was a bit disappointing. But yeah, I thought Rhodes was quite lively early on. Sadly, we don't seem to give our one-man forward a lot of support. You know, they tend to be a bit isolated. And then I think it was when Ramirez came on second half, and I'd like to have seen the Rhodes stay on for a bit longer with Ramirez. But I mean, you can't fault Ramirez really. Negredo. I mean, I think he does add a bit of quality.
He looks the part.
Yeah, but he needs to be a bit more.
Just needs a bit of help, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's too much distance between him and midfield sometimes.
There's been a couple of times where he's won a header and then he's actually chased down his own.
He's looking for his own ball. So.
Okay. Your thoughts? The tweets have been coming in, some interesting ones as well. We'll start with the not so happies, shall we? And there's less not so happies than the we are happy. Chris Harper, if I had a quid for every time we went backwards and then had our keeper launch it forwards, I'd be able to buy Pyatt myself. JD Holds, I think we're simply not good enough for the Premier League. That's one win in our last 13 games. 13, I have to count back. It's worrying. The positives, and like I say, far more of them. Kieran, Forshaw pulling the strings, not springs. Daroon showing early signs of his big money price tag. Downing good again, it's positive. All about Borough, good point, happy in the end. Once again, Stuani stays on for the full game. Get the Dharma on. Laurie Cox, happy with the away point and the performance. The draw suited us better than West Ham. Think it's improved from last week. Kieran, looked better today. Dust ourselves down over the break and get back winning against Watford. I'd like to see that. Dave Simmons, apart from the Pyatt goal, Borough were quality. Forshaw bossed it. He's getting a lot of comments, isn't he, Forshaw? Amor, stop the losing streak. Another good point on board. Good away result was that. Chris Holly, Borough fan, he's been on ranting many times on the programme. He decided to take his camera with him down to West Ham. This was his take on the day trip to the smoke.
Well, here we are, just arrived at King's Cross, 11:43, and we're just about to go to the pub before we head up to West Ham. Some of the lads are here already. As you can see, the weather's not particularly great. We're just waiting on a few lads now to turn up. Up the Borough! Right, we've got a couple of lads for the games today. We've got Jamie, Ian, Kath, Stuart. Predictions today?
I'm going for a thrilling 0-0 draw.
I like that.
Up the Borough.
Ian?
I'm going for 2-1.
2-1.
Oh, sorry.
Kath, predictions today?
I'm not very knowledgeable.
3-1.
To the Borough?
Yes.
Stuart, predictions today?
I'm vicious, I can't have 0-0. I'm going to go for 3-2.
3-2 to the Borough. And we've had another last minute edition. Eva, what's your prediction today?
7-0 to the Borough.
Dear. Toby, can we have your predictions today? 2-0 Borough. Can we have a flash? Can we have a flash of your top? Up the Borough. Right, this is Toby Hannafin. How old are you, Toby? 7. And who's your favourite player? Negredo. And is Negredo going to score today?
Yes.
This is Hayden. And how old are you, Hayden? 6. And who's your favourite player? Ramirez. And is Ramirez going to score today?
Yeah.
What's the score going to be?
2-0.
And
Friend's going to score the second.
Friend's going to score the second. Say up the borough. Up the borough. Okalaka. Now lads, we're just turning up the ground. Not very happy with the team selection, mine, but we'll see what happens. Right, Toby, what did you think of the game? What did you think of the 1-1 and who was your best player?
I think it was alright. And Forshaw was my best player.
Forshaw was my man of the match as well. Well done, mate. Up the borough, eh? Up the borough.
I thought the game was really good. To be fair, we were away from home. They needed a win. They didn't get one. We didn't let them. We defended well. Again, Payet danced through the defence. That's the third time on their trot. Song did it last week and Coleman did it the other week. But hey, it's a point. Let's move on. Come on, Borough.
From one Chris to another, that was Holly. This is Story, and he's got the latest RedArmy.tv news.
We start Red Army News with the great news for Borough Central defender Dale Fry, who spent the week with the England senior squad. Fry was called up by Gareth Southgate so he could experience life with the likes of Wayne Rooney and co. The 19-year-old is currently out on loan with Championship side Rotherham. Now, Borough fans may have an interest in a Borough Footy memorabilia exhibition just underway in the Dorman Museum. The Bob End exhibition focuses on Borough's 1926-27 promotion season, as well as striker George Camsell's England career. On display is Camsell's Blue England shirt, worn in the 3-0 win over Germany just before the Second World War, when the German team and the fans gave a Nazi salute before kick-off. And finally this week, the MFC Foundation has entered into its third year of a partnership with Ferrero and the EFL Trust to encourage children to take part in physical activity. The Sport, Move and Learn project has already reached over 3,500 kids locally across 45 schools. And don't forget, if you have any news at all, you can drop it into us here. Just email us studio@redarmy.tv or via social media at Borough Red Army.
Chris Story there with the latest happenings in and around life as a Borough fan. Fellas, the dark side of West Ham came particularly after the match and all the events there. Fair bit of trouble. We'll dig into that and hopefully shine a bright light on Borough fans, of course. But first and foremost, I love this. Paddy, you know Owen, don't you? Owen Swift, the young lad, the 17-year-old.
One of our members.
When the goal went in, when the Borough's goal went in, he said a few bottles came across, coins came in. £1 coin hit him, and he tweeted this, fantastic, shows the photograph and basically says, the lad's in a wheelchair, and he says, to the West Ham fan who threw this at me when we scored, thank you very much, it'll go towards my new wheelchair. # every penny counts. Smile on our face, but it's got a serious side to it. It's worrying, isn't it? We've seen in weeks leading up to the game, and I was a bit concerned. West Ham fans in the London Stadium fighting among themselves. We're hearing about trouble outside the ground. And of course, Borough fans now witnessed firsthand the trouble afterwards. What do you make of it?
Well, I'm always disappointed when there's trouble near vulnerable people. It's like, especially Owen. I mean, Owen laughed it off, but he was sat furthest along the deck towards where the segregation, in inverted commas, was. And when the goal went in, I just seen like a shower of liquid, you know, like obviously a glass of beer or something, or a bottle or something had been thrown or exploded or whatever. And then there was another one or two after that, and I thought, well, how would they got them in the ground? I mean, there's no police in the ground as such. It's policed by stewards, and one or two of the stewards I spoke to, they weren't really football stewards, if you get what I mean. They were event stewards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even talking to a couple of West Ham fans after the game, after all this had died down, and they said, well, we asked the club if they'd bring the stewards from Upton Park over here, but they haven't got no say in it because
Yeah.
they're only renting it.
Apparently that's it. It's the owners of the stadium who are dictating whether the police come in to steward the game or police the game, or whether it's stewards that come in. And the club themselves, like you said, don't.
Yeah,
don't
I know one or two of the police as well, and they've said that the reason that the police don't get actively involved in the stadium is because they have a problem with the communication systems, you know, with the actual walkie-talkies and stuff, something to do with the pickups in the stadium itself. You know what I mean?
I'd also heard there was a cost implication as well, a bigger cost implication than simply stewarding it themselves. But we'll hear many things, fellas. What was your take? I mean, you saw what was going on. James, what did you see?
I mean, to be honest, it was a bit of a strange one. It was just an awful lot of pushing and shoving. It was my initial impression. Kind of came out the ground, and there was actually a few police and stewards outside the ground, kind of right outside the turnstiles, kind of keeping the West Ham fans away from you, enabling you to kind of walk out and on your way. And then you almost turned the corner into a big open space. There's massive open spaces around the ground, and then it was just a free-for-all is almost the best word I can describe it. It's only how I can imagine it was in the 80s, really.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, we were actually talking to a couple of West Ham fans, just making our way towards the coaches. And they commented on similar things that Paddy's just talked about there, just a lack of organisation from stewards and from police, and how there seemed to be an edge coming out of every game that they've been to in that stadium. And then all of a sudden just a massive roar went up, and you just saw, I couldn't even really put a number on it, but it was just lots of people kind of jumping around, pushing and shoving. If I'm honest, I didn't see too many punches thrown or anything like that really, but because there was so many, it was going on kind of everywhere you could see. It was chaos, and it took a good 5 or 10 minutes, I think, for any police or anybody to come to the assistance of the fans. There was a very thin line of stewards, 18-year-old kids pretty much, like Paddy says, they're just event stewards who didn't have a chance in hell in being able to stop anything really. You kind of felt sorry for them, putting themselves in that position.
A lot of women stewards as well, which was a bit unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Paul, what did you see?
Well, as James has just said, as you come out the ground, there was a mob of West Ham fans, and the stewards had penned them all in. But you normally get, when you get stewards involved, you get a bit of a bravado, so there was a bit coming and going between them. But we went past them, I went down the stairs towards the road. I asked, there was 2 policemen there. I asked where the away coaches were, because they weren't visibly inside. They told us to go onto the main road, turn left, go up the bank, and they were there. But it was a strange feeling about the place. You know, you could see lads looking about, like searching for people. I walked up the road, went over the bridge. There's like a river there, and then you have it's the Olympic Park, I think they call it, the area. Well, it's a big wide open area, and there was no police there. And as I got towards the coaches, a bit of a scuffle started, and this lad ran across to just basically where I was. He turned round to face these West Ham fans, put his fists up, and they were just like animals, just going for him. He decked the first one, but then there was 4 or 5 of them on top of him, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get it here. But fortunately, then there was a few stewards like ran in. As soon as the stewards ran in, the West Ham fans seemed to back off a bit, but they were still there. They weren't moving off and going home. They were still prowling about looking for people. Even when the police came, there was 3 police vans turned up, and they slowly got out the police vans. The police came across, and there was still scuffle starting off there. I just basically got on the coach. I thought, no, better off out of it.
One of the ironic things was when we were going down into the stadium, David Sullivan's roller come past our minibus. You know what I mean? And the road went from 2 lanes to 1, and we both going in the same direction. And he put his thumbs up and more or less said, "Can I get in? Can I get in?" You know what I mean? And we let him in, obviously, and then how he never got a speeding ticket, his driver, I don't know, because 40 mile an hour, he just boof off. And I was thinking, you know, does he ever actually physically come down to where the fans are and see what's going on?
He watches videos, apparently.
Oh, yeah. But don't you think you get a bit more of the realistic atmosphere and stuff of what's going on in there? They've obviously got a problem at that stadium.
Well, it's
I don't
such
know
an
whether-
expansive area of land
Yeah.
around it. How the heck are you going to segregate fans? I mean, that's the problem. But talking of Sullivan, he's described it all as being sensationalised, and he said he's watched all the videos. As far as he can see, any issues were routine football problems. Are we sensationalising it? Are there routine problems?
Well, what the videos he's watching? You know,
Dunno.
are they from the programme Sellers Kiosk, or are they from Jim down the road with a little
Emmanuel
40
meets the
floor?
wife swappers.
Exactly.
Who knows what
Yes.
he's watching?
Yeah, well, he's
He's not watching CCTV cameras, is he, of those areas?
got
we
plenty
can
of DVDs anyway.
we
hasn't
can
he?
see the pictures now that we've pulled down, and thanks for everybody who's put things up on YouTube and things like that. And particularly concerning, there's this question of Knife Boy. That's the nickname he's been given. Have a look at this still shot. You can see something in his hand. Now, this is just what we've taken down off the internet. I'm showing the still shot first because you don't identify him in the video straight away, but now you can see him with a light-coloured top on. Now we'll play the video. Have a look at the video. You can see he's holding something in his hand. Now, is it a knife? Is it not a knife? We don't know, but you can see he runs in and he takes a real swing as though he is wielding something in his hand at the Borough fan. We're told there are pictures of he actually made contact with the coach, and there's marks on the body of the coach. But if there are fans still this day and age carrying knives around, it's ridiculous, isn't it? You mentioned going back to the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought we'd got rid of all that.
And I think the vast majority of the country, we've seen what we've done. And I think for whatever reason, I mean, it's not just last week, it seems to have been since the end of last season, you've been hearing these things about West Ham. You saw the pictures of the Man United team bus getting battered at the one of the last games of the season at Upton Park, and kind of all the scenes around the last few games at Upton Park where you always seem to see trouble. And you've seen reports of it every game at West Ham's ground this season. Now, it is concerning, obviously, that this seems to be the first time there's been a knife involved, or some kind of weapon at least. You know, it is very concerning, and you've got to wonder what has to happen before anything seems to be done against them. You almost get the feeling it's going to take a serious injury or something like that for any action to be taken against them, because it seems to have been happening for quite a while.
Well, let's dispel all this talk of doom, gloom and despondency and hooliganism and problems at West Ham. Just to come back to subject matter, the Borough, the defence. The Payet goal is as good as the neutral may think it is. And I'll start with you, Paddy. It's the third successive game now that we've conceded a goal where players come in on the inside, dribbled his way into the penalty area or thereabouts and stuck one in the back of the net against us. I mean, against Everton, it was Seamus Coleman. He started it. Then we saw Son, the Korean, and now this one. Is it a problem in our lineup? Is it a problem in our tactics? Or again, is it going back to individual performances and errors, do you think?
I don't know. I actually watched the West Ham goal on Sunday morning on my own TV and played it slow motion. And for me, the only one who came out with any credit at all was Callum Chambers. Barragan gets done just inside the halfway line, and wherever he doesn't seem to follow Payet into the area at all. And when he does finally get into the area, Payet's beat another 2 or 3 men, and Barragan's just stood watching as much to say, well, oh, this looks good. You know what I mean? He's always in awe of what's going on. It doesn't make none of them put a foot in really. Sadly, George throws himself to the ground with his back to the player. So what he's trying to do, I don't know. Chambers actually tracked Payet on a parallel arc with him, and he tried to get behind Valdez once Gibson had took over the sort of marking up. And but I mean, if you watch it, you can see that when Payet gets a shot off, Valdez is wrong-footed, and Chambers is just gone that little bit too far. Otherwise, you'd have got that.
Third time we've seen it happen, Paul. No England call-up for Ben Gibson. I've got a feeling it might be a bit of a reflection on what's happened in the last few games, or not?
Yeah, it probably is. Like I say, the 3 similar goals that we've conceded, and I think at times we back off because we're scared to put the foot in. especially around that area, around the box, and that's where these players are exploiting us. Like I say, for three games consistently to do that. I watched Son playing against Sunderland, and he was man of the match, and I thought to myself, that's one we need to watch. And when we played Tottenham here, we didn't take that much care of him, and he scored 2 goals, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think we're more happy that Harry Kane wasn't playing that game.
Yeah, and he went on to score more goals after us as well. It seems a decent
Going
player.
back on that subject, the one that disappointed me the most was Coleman. You know, letting a fullback go that length of the park and cut in and just. He virtually, was invited, if you like, to shoot, and nobody. Like Paul says,
what do you want?
Nobody seems to put a
big
foot
challenge
in.
coming in outside the box.
Or
clean him out,
or shepherd them out somehow.
You've either got to shepherd them down or stop it at the source a little bit. Don't let him get close to the penalty area, because I agree then.
If you tackle him outside the penalty area, you're not going to give a penalty away.
And I think that's what we're scared of. Once they've cut into the box, we're not putting that tackle in, because we're scared of the pace, and I think we're scared of the player just going down. I think.
Well, at the moment we're conceding for being scared, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'd rather concede a free kick on the edge or.
Yeah. See, I know referees have given this sort of talk, stroke ultimatum or whatever about holding in the penalty area and physical contact with defenders and attackers in the penalty area. I was just wondering if that's like subconsciously affecting them.
Stewie Bone wasn't one who would hold somebody in the penalty area.
Did
He'd be on the moon, wouldn't he?
Dick your roots now.
Absolutely. Just to finish this off then on the old defensive hat trick, which we don't want. Kate, good point, but our defending is an absolute joke. Jason Booth, honestly, our back four today, only Ben Gibson is going to cut it at this level. Caroline Gill, happy with the point, but our defence was really poor today. Gibson was by far the best defender. Definitely deserves his chance now. Didn't get the call up. Let's finish on a positive. International week, no football to look at. That's not the positive. But the positive is Stuani's on his travels, off with Ramirez. Uruguay have got a couple of games. I think Venezuela and Colombia away. Venezuela at home, Colombia away. But Eric Paler was writing in the Gazette this week, and he's basically said Stuani is our best goal scorer. So let's stick him up front. What do you reckon? We'd like to see Stuani up front? Striker?
With somebody with him, yeah.
2 men up front, Stuani one of them. Yeah. Thoughts?
I think I'd like to see him get the chance. He's proven that he has that knack of maybe not necessarily always playing well, but he seems to score important goals. And he's never really had a run in. He's always seemed to be playing on the right. So it'd be nice to see him maybe get that chance just to see what he is capable of.
And you, Paul?
Yeah, we need to play 2 up front. I think that's the key to it all. If we have Negredo and even Stuani playing together, Jordan Rhodes with Negredo, I think that'd be the key in it. It might be a bold step for Kranker to say that's what we're going to do.
Let's try it.
Yeah, let's try it. And
like the 4-5-1 got us out of the Championship, without a doubt. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's conducive to us getting some good results in the Premier League.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll be 4-4-2. Then again, I think that was just a pig flying across the window.
As long as we score one more than the opposition.
I don't care. 5-4. The days of Kevin Keegan at Newcastle. Well, I'll be the entertainer conceding 4 as long as we score 5. I don't mind at all. Fellas, we're massively over time, but thank you very much. Paddy, as always, pleasure to have you in here. James, thank you. Paul, thank you. That's it for this edition. A very special programme coming up next week, of course. No football to reflect back on. I'll keep you in suspenders a little longer. You do look good in them. We'll catch you next week on RedArmy.tv. See you.
We are family! We are family! We are family!
Come on, boy, we can beat these Saturday.
Come on, lads, believe, come on!